Joanne, sorry, Joanne, are you able to unmute now? Okay, let me just check chat again. Just confirming that
I
our
think
host.
I have unmuted you. Confirm. You're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I couldn't unmute you, but yeah,
Okay.
let me go back to the first slide. So I think we have a good number now. I don't know how many more we're expecting, so I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our guest, our wonderful guest. So I'm excited today. And like I said, my name is Erica for those who are just joining, and I'm just gonna help to moderate this session. But the main person of the event is Joanne, and we're really, really happy to have you here, Joanne. So for the people who may not know who Joanne is, um, she is a seasoned board member and a C-suite leader. Like her resume is impressive. If you check out her LinkedIn, it's super, super impressive. But just to share a few highlights about her career, she brings a wealth of experience across startups and multinational corporations, and she currently serves as a, oh no, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry, I have technical issues. My laptop has decided to act up a bit. But yeah, like I was saying, Joanne is currently serves as a senior advisor for Kenny Africa and chairs the boards of Sanari Capital and the Southern African Philanthropy Foundation. And I'm just really skimming through her very, very impressive bio. So, Joanne, if I'm missing some details, it's because you've done amazing things, and I'm just trying to let people have a glimpse into what you're doing already or and what you've already done. But something that I found interesting is that beyond finance, you're deeply committed to mentorship and the people who have joined this session, I'm sure they're going to appreciate that. So you're deeply committed into mentorship, philanthropy, and advancing other women in technology. And I'm hoping that all the women that have joined this breakout room are going to be inspired. And just to ask the audience, please be attentive and be eager to learn. And again, if you have questions, put them in the chat because we will have a session towards the end where Joanne addresses your questions. So please be attentive and please let's give our guest a warm welcome. Joanne, feel very welcome. And yeah, the mic is yours. Conf are you able to speak now, Joanne? Maybe it could be a sound issue on your end. From my end, I can see you're unmuted. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
a. Uh,
Okay, let me see if I can get some in to help.
okay.
But yeah.
Thank you. People, please just bear with us. In the meantime, you can tell us where you're joining us from in the chat. Let us know how excited you are, what you're looking forward to in this session in the chat as we sort out the technical issues. With these online events, it's really hard. Sometimes Zoom decides, yeah, we're not gonna have a smooth session, but we move and it's not gonna take away from anything that's planned for today. So you can let us know in the chat if you're able to send a message in the chat, tell us what you're most excited about, and tell us where you're joining us from as we wait to start. I could start. I am joining from Nairobi, Kenya, so I'm curious to know where the rest of the people are joining from. Are you able to speak now? Amazing. I see Lucy from Nairobi, Edom from Addis. Yeah, keep sharing as we sort out the mic issues. You can also share
Great.
what you're most ex excited about. Did someone unmute? Did someone want to speak?
I just came in to try to be tech support here. Joanne, your mic is not working. So let me just check. Let's just check. If you go down to the bottom left of your screen, there's an audio there, and you click the up button. And then can you change the source of your microphone, perhaps? I'll let you know when something's happening. Nothing's changing. No. If nothing's changing and it was working before, maybe you could just log out and come back in, and then we'll move you here. Is that okay? Sorry about this, everyone. Erica, just keep everyone posted while we try to handle this from the main room.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's gonna be sorted, guys. Don't worry. But keep sharing where you're joining us from, and we can also unmute. I believe, if you're able to speak, you can unmute and share something. I'm not gonna call out on anyone, but feel free to unmute as we do this intro session. Can unmute. Tell us where you're joining us from. Um, so and maybe something that, because in the theme of the Women's History Month, right? What is something yeah. What is something that you have done, or maybe that's too complex, but maybe something that you love about women, like a quality that you love about the women in your life, the women you admire. And I'll give an example. So at ALX, we have these values, right? We call them chair values that we live by. So we have courage, we have humility, we have adventure, initiative, and resilience, right? So what are some of the qualities that you have admired or observed in women that you are in your life, or women even if they're not in your life but you admire them? I can start by one. I think I want to shout out Mobo, who's helping me moderate the session, and she's the one who's running this whole thing. Something that I've admired in Mobo is she's very good at I like, I don't know if it doesn't fit in the chair values per se, but she's very good at problem solving, right? So we have to collaborate a lot with Mobo, especially with our pathway learners. And some of the things that I learn from her is how she, if we're trying to align on a schedule and I want to say something, I mean, I tell her that this cannot happen. We try and find a solution. So I like the fact that Mobo, a female leader, a woman in this organization, she's very good at problem solving. So maybe you can unmute and share something, or even something in yourself. It doesn't have to be other people. Or you can send it in the chat if you're not able to unmute. Just send me in the chat. What's a quality? It can just be one word that you admire in the women in your life. Please don't be shy. Let's make this an engaging session. And yeah, and let's get to know each other a little bit. Maybe I can start with you, Mobo, well, as we wait for our the other members of the room to warm up a bit.
Thanks, Erica. I think for me, it's about resilience. I have seen women from my family, from across my community, and just all over the world, the ability to be resilient despite whatever challenges they face. And that's the game changer for me, that ability to push it. I think we do have Joanne on now. Joanne, can we
You
hear
do.
you
I've
now?
got me on the screen, but you need to mute me
Okay, let's
on the
see. Let me
computer. I'm
mute.
signing in with my phone.
Good?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I need to.
Oh, let's see.
There's a bit of an echo.
There will be an echo because I'm using my phone. I'm using my phone for sound.
Okay.
But then you can mute your computer then.
I'm trying to do that. I'll do that now. Okay, is that better? Can you hear me?
Amazing. Yeah. Now your sound
Fabulous.
is, yeah.
Thank
I
you. So we're
think,
not echoing. Apologies for that. Nothing like a tech issue. I was on early and it all worked perfectly. Very good to meet you all. I don't want to interrupt. I know you were busy with some intros. Where are we at on this side, Erica?
no, maybe you can help us. So it seems like some of the other guests in our room are very shy. But we were sharing, like, what's a quality that you have admired in the women in your lives, in the spirit of Women's History Month. So I shared that I really love working with Mobo because she's a problem solver. Mobo said she has observed resilience in the women in her life. So what's a quality that you've admired in the women in your life? And it could also be yourself.
So I think the qualities I admire about women is we do have the ability to collect multiple things and then connect the dots. I think there's something about the ability, they always say we could multitask. I don't think we can multitask necessarily. No human can, but we move between tasks quickly. And so the ability to connect and collect, I think, is a remarkable skill, and actually to see the human in what we do. And I think one of the things around marrying up what the tech industry is doing with the fact that we are people first is something that is quite remarkable. So our intuition, and as women, I think the women I've met have been able to make decisions with all three of their brains, their head, their heart, and their gut. And I think if we can keep doing that, these forums are important so that we can lift each other up together. This is a new tribe. Every time we have one of these sessions, you widen your tribe and your network. And so for me, it's about the women that I admire the most are the ones that are willing to ask for help, that lean in. And I worked with an amazing woman once who said to me, we don't have to start every sentence with an apology. I'm sorry I can't make it, or apologies for being late. We rather started with an act. I'm very grateful to be here. It's been a busy day. Let's see how we move ahead. So I think there are a couple of redeeming qualities, and I'm very proudly a woman and very proudly an advocate for women in tech and what we're doing together with ALX today.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really like that, especially the apology thing. I think for me, that's something that I've had to learn as I grow in my career. When I was studying earlier, when I was just starting, I found myself saying that a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. Or saying, I just wanna, instead of saying, like being open and being direct about what I would like, I would just be like, let's just do this. And that kind of language, I've come to learn it doesn't really help you get things done. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think we can just get right into the session. So I'm gonna give it to you and
Thank
you
you.
can get started. And then just to remind people in the room, you can leave your questions in the chat. Please be attentive and we will handle them towards the end of the session.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Mobo. Your energy earlier was very tangible. And to everyone in this breakout room, welcome to the dreamers, to the doers, to the makers, to the shakers, to the shapers of our continent. I think part of these events is about how we're going to change the narrative and how we do it together. So today we're talking about unicorns. I've got South Africa. I'm actually going to be talking more broadly across Africa as well. But I think it's about the inspiring stories and the successes. So if you go to the next slide, what's been interesting for me, and you'll recognize some of these icons, is that this is a journey through our tech landscape. So we're all about where innovation meets resilience. We spoke earlier, Mobo, about your characteristic of problem solving that Erica raised, Erica, about the lessons you learn and resilience. So this is important when we look at a shift from turning ideas into impact. And so we're going to explore the rise of the unicorn. I thought I would take a slightly different stance to this. So lessons that they offer us as tech enthusiasts and as aspiring entrepreneurs, and then understanding that definition, which interestingly enough, the definition was coined by a venture capitalist who's a woman, Aileen Lee, in 2013. She wanted to emphasize how rare these successful startups actually are. So that's if you make $1 billion or more dollars, you're a unicorn. And so they symbolize rarity, innovation, transformative potential in this broader tech ecosystem. And I thought today we can talk a little bit about, well, how do you build that, right? And if you go to the next house, or the next slide, sorry, I want you to actually close your eyes while I talk this. Really imagine it. Imagine you are building a future. You are turning your ideas into impact. Picture yourself on this slab, this flat platform like a tablet, okay, this innovation hub. You're laying the foundation for a very recent idea. So you've got architectural plans in your head. You know this foundation represents what you have ideated, your vision for your startup, and that's where the really exciting time is. And just as this strong foundation is very crucial for any house, that solid idea is equally critical for a successful startup. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how do you take that from ideation to actual execution. But this foundation of your house, and you standing on it, is reinforced. There's market research, there's validation, and these are actually the walls and the beams on either side. Because with the right data and the right insights, you strengthen this foundation. You take your idea from just being an idea to its build phase. So it's a bit like ensuring stability, financial stability in your startup, resource stability in your startup, and it's always going to be shaky to start. So this builds the walls. Then we've got the next bit, right? The infrastructure investment, so the actual insides and outs, and what does that mean in this?
For example, she never worked, and because she never worked, if anything happens to her, what it also means is, from a finance perspective, if the husband is not working, it basically means the family would struggle. And women are less likely to take out any life insurance, and I think because at times they are just not exposed to some of these things. And I think for me, the biggest is the African culture's way when it
peer mentors to also see this vision of empowering globally young women. Okay, does anyone else taken any small steps towards their vision or where they want to have impact?
I do see we have some comments on the comment section, not necessarily talking about the steps they've taken, but I see Betty mentioning that she'd like to bridge digital literacy in marginalized communities. Someone has called themselves Oppo. Oppo, you need to rename yourself. But Oppo says that she wants to empower women in ABBA with core skills in tech and to be a public speaker to teach other people to grow. We have Magda, who wants to help women without education to get access to education. And finally, I have Fana here saying she wants to have an impact in the tech space.
And trust me, you are on the right track to building your sustainable career, because wherever you are, people would always look for you. And I think this resonates so well to me. I know that in all of the jobs, despite the various industries that I have been on, there's one thing that people have constantly said, whatever recommendations are being made, that if you do want results, Joy is your go-to person. My team members know me. If we're never going to hit that goal, like, just know that we're not, in quotes, sleeping. Like, we're not even playing. We must hit it. Like, there's no excuse.
They acquired a fintech. So leading fintech SME funder was acquired called Retail Capital, and they grew even more. So they got to 1.2 billion customers between June and December last year alone, 6,500 additional customers a day. And they hit true unicorn status at the end of last year. And I'll talk to you a bit more about that. Then there's Jumo, a fintech company with AI-powered financials. There's TMapped, that's a Nigerian fintech company providing financial solutions to businesses and individuals, and they've expanded their offerings since 2022. Yoko, a number of you will have used the card machines with Yoko, backed also by the Harumbians in that space, so the funding is just as important as your idea, and they're payment solutions for small businesses. They've got significant investment and they've expanded since then. And M&T is a cryptocurrency piece, and they've also expanded substantially. They were able to attract investment, and actually, as a unicorn, they've earned over 400 million in their first funding round. They've valued over 1 billion, so they've got to unicorn status. And Kuda achieved that recently. So also Nigerian-focused Neobank tripled its revenue from 2022, expanded its services. They are now in the UK, Canada, Ghana, Tanzania, Uganda. These are Africans solving Africa's problems and then taking that solution to the world. So this is Throwback Thursday, and I thought I would start with throwbacks from a while ago. So what's important about these pieces is that there are other apps that didn't succeed, all right? There was Sweet South, which was a platform connecting household workers that needed cleaning services. Great opportunities for the gig economy, didn't materialize. Aerobotics started, interesting, precision agriculture, they used drones, got international recognition, never quite got over it, but still running well. And then SnapScam is a mobile payment piece. I'm working closely now with a number of spaces, and you can see that in the digital payments piece and Custos Media Technologies. So we've got these other near players in the market that we're starting to see become prominent players as we see them happen. What's important is that the failures are just as important as successes in these spaces. So these are successes, small or close to unicorn status, but then there are smaller ones. Babona, some of them only lasted 3 years. Some lasted 11 in the spaces. Mixit is another one, which was part of social networking at the time. Zing was another one, which gave microloans. Ikaya was a property rental piece, etc. So we've got all of these fintechs and platform plays that came in. And what we want to talk about now is what made them successful, those that have done well, and those that didn't succeed, what are the lessons we can learn? And what's interesting, some of the research shows that in the US, people will fail at businesses 3 times and keep coming back. In Africa, we almost don't go back when it doesn't succeed the first time. And so one of the things about this forum and the mentor groups and the tribe you form or the people you connect with in your network is the resilience factor, the team to lean into so that we don't give up when the going gets tough and it's a struggle. I do a lot of venture capital work and scenario capital. We always say there's 10 years to overnight success, right? It's hard work, it's hard yards. And when you look back, it seems like it all catapulted quite quickly over time. But actually, it took some real bootstrapping and real grit and a lot of support and advice along the way to get to a successful space that saw tech shift the dynamics of the landscape that we're in. So if you go to the next one, I want us to deep dive on 2 of these, and then we can go into some Q&A about success factors. Time Bank, in terms of where it's structured, continues to grow. To give an example, Latin American New Bank, which one is the fastest digital financial services platforms globally, invested in their D series capital range last year. They brought in 150 million USD, and as a catalyst, another fund invested another 50 million, and that took and their shareholders a further 50 million. As a consequence, Time Bank achieved unicorn status last year at a valuation of 1.5 billion US dollars. Go One that I mentioned, what's been incredible about what they've done, they've showcased how we can solve global challenges. They scaled very much from a grassroots space into further pieces, and recently they're working with Decider, so another fintech company, and they announced a partnership. So you don't actually have to go it alone. And I think that's the key lesson. They formalized that, and they're going to be able to take integrated AI to the market. More deliberately, they're going to showcase that workplace development around taking education and workforce mobility and platforms to the people. They're now able to create personalized career pathways, upskilling recommendations using AI. This allows employees from a global scale to learn, to grow, and makes them more mobile. So that AI-enabled technology gives them AI tutor, AI learning, etc. So it's never a one-off and one-hit wonder. And I remember sitting with Melvin, and he said to me, if you've got a great idea, soundboard that. Speak to other individuals. Is your great idea solving for a broader pain point? Has someone else come up with it before? And then actually, how do you take it to execution with multiple partners? And I've met a number of people, the initial team at the time have worked with me on a recent banking license as well. What's been really interesting is they're so willing to talk to young entrepreneurs or entrepreneur wannabes, young tech enthusiasts, those that are doing a second career change and maybe have opted to do this post a corporate space, but actually they're available as sounding boards. And I think that's critical. But what do these successes have in common? Resilience. They face challenges, regulatory hurdles, scaling propositions, funding pieces, but their journeys highlighted both perseverance, adaptability, and the ability to lean in. They also identified gaps in the market. They did a lot of research. One of the things that really shifted the dial for both of them was inclusion, whether it was financial inclusion or accessible education. So, what are we solving for if we think about our African continent and our demographic dividend and job creation? Where do we play and where could we stay? And there's some interesting options around gaps in the market going forward. And then collaboration. And I talked about not having to go it alone, whether that's family and friends at the startup stage, advisors before you have a board, investors, in some instances, governments have been key in this, and then global organizations. We've seen organizations wanting to come in and leverage not only the opportunity that Africa has to offer, but the talent we have on the ground and how we take that global. Plus, it's interesting, in the Foreign Policy magazine, they actually had an article about who's afraid of the global south. And with so many changes currently economically, and we've seen a whirlwind of changes, whether it's tariffs being increased, statements on D&I, etc. But after years of dominance from a US perspective, there's the new multipolar world, right, is definitely emerging. And in fact, there's a strong focus on investing in the global south, and we fit very, very squarely in that bucket. So it's an exciting time for us with our ideas in terms of how do we take them to market, because 45% of the top 25 fastest growing countries out to 2030 are here. So it's a very exciting space to play. Businesses are seeking to grow their markets, grow their consumer bases, and find unique opportunities. So turning impact into money actually is something we need to consider. And now let's come to the how. I love Alvin Toffler's futurist view. So he said, And he was a futurist piece. He was an author. He's written extensive books. He said, the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read or those who cannot write. So if you go to the next slide, but it's those who cannot learn, cannot unlearn, and relearn. So Eric, if we go to the next slide, I want to unpack Alvin Toffler a little bit. I want to take the lessons from, and I don't want to call them failed businesses. If we move forward and we've learned something, they're rather even better if scenarios, right? So the one thing was adaptability. They didn't succeed because they couldn't adapt to a changing market condition, to customer needs that were different, to and their ability to be flexible and willing to do that. So I actually call this change agility. It's almost a personality construct around how you think about refining what you do all the time. So adaptability impacted those businesses that were not successful. COVID was a great example of seeing the ability for businesses to really directionally shift how they think. Then market research. We talked about solving local problems that could have global impact, but understanding what the market needs and your customer needs is vital. We may have a great idea from a platform perspective or tech, but is there an actual proposition to sell? Businesses that haven't succeeded lack that research, lack the target audience understanding, and actually, did they test it? So it's really important around when we have successful technology companies or startups, there's a real understanding. They've taken time, and I like this, to actually empathize with users, understand their pain points, understand your actual goals, and then put the person at the center of the design, the technology, etc. And I've seen this being successfully married up between tech specialists that are remarkable builders, coders, etc., with individuals that are great empaths, salespeople can actually see an opportunity, and together they co-create and collaborate that understanding of real users' needs. Then we've got leadership in a team. So strong leadership, cohesive team. I think some of the lessons we've learned is going it alone and how hard and difficult that is, and not always being willing to ask for help or have a network you can ask for help to. So part of that research is understanding your stakeholder map. So who do you know that could help in these spaces, whether it's on legal, whether it's on financial, whether it's on money, so that financial being accounting understanding, funding being money proposition, government conditions, regulations, the market you serve, the market you want to serve, etc. So that leadership, that team, the ability to almost build your, in this case, let's say your Women in Tech, ALX Inc., your board that helps support you is important. So who do you go to? Because if you don't have a stronger enough leadership team or team that you can collaborate with, that success is a lot harder to achieve. And in fact, collaboration is probably the word. Collaboration and co-creation, those two things, whether it's support, or it's an end user that you're talking to and testing it with, whether it's a manager of a product or a project or a component part, etc. That collaboration, the benefit of getting diverse opinions around the table, diverse skills around the table, is really what fuels innovation that is sustainable, because you create differently. We solve problems differently. I think we said earlier, the ability for us to collect information and connect the dots, and the power of having people connect those dots differently around a table is phenomenal. So embracing a collaborative mindset, and I think we actually do this well in terms of our networks, but do we harness it? And that's, for me, is about collective intelligence, creative diversity, and then technology advancement. So that leadership and team and collaboration, I think, is really important. And then the other pieces around businesses that could have done better was customer focus. So we can't be everything to everyone, right? So prioritizing satisfaction, understanding, what feedback loop looks like. Successful companies, small or big or new platforms, listen to their customers. They want feedback. They thrive on the opportunity for continuous improvement. And in fact, they shift from a view of being customer focused to actually customer centric. In fact, real unicorns create products that customers love. I laughed the other day. Someone said to me, one of the things about Apple is how their products are packaged. It's actually an experience when you unwrap it. So not only do you want the phone, but getting to it is equally as exciting as the spaces. So that customer-centric piece around experience and gathering feedback again and again is really important. And we have multiple avenues for feedback, whether it's social media, whether it's direct interaction, whether it's popping a survey or WhatsApp, etc., various platforms for chat, TikTok. There are really great ways. And in fact, influencers were used by New Brand to actually build out and attract their customers. So they're very different ways to take what you've got to market. And then there's this need for, from a strategic partnership perspective, to think about how do you expand your reach? How do you expand your capabilities? Dream big. You don't have to have all the answers now, but sometimes we collaborate with bigger companies or big organizations to provide access, whether it's to new markets or to resources, but to help scale. And so it's really important that we've got this building trusted relationships, embracing change and adaptability. And I think we're in the tech space. By nature of where we play, this actually should be something that is easier for us to do because we're constantly solving for problems, iterating new ideas, and I think reimagining things. And then being authentic. So authenticity, your genuine personalities. I've met the most incredible people through Women in Tech. I know there's a session on personal brand, but that has won the hearts of customers worldwide. So in technology, being true to yourself, embracing your authenticity gives you trust, strengthens your relationships, encourages communication, and creates an environment where actually people want to work with you, through you, for you. And then if you think about solving for Africa's problems, if we leverage technology for good, and here I say for inclusion, because inclusion and diversity give us not only different perspectives, but allows us to impact a broader range of people. And so if we look ahead, we have the opportunity to use data responsibly, to also balance technology and the human touch, and we've spoken about that. What we are designing as unicorns, future unicorns, soonicorns, or new ideas being taken to market is the ability to balance technology with people. We are wired for connection. Brene Brown always talks about this in terms of being vulnerable, but the power of personal interactions, vulnerability, and understanding underscore the importance of the delicate balance between technological advancement and human connection. And I love it. A friend of mine Tony calls this cyber psychology to a degree. So it's about both. And then being part and parcel of wanting to foster positive change. So whether we're creating something as innovative, in the past it was speech to text solutions, or improving a customer experience, for me it would be an AI bot that I talk to that then actually does on an online shopping platform my shopping for me. It's my in-house butler. It would be a great example of a pain point to solve for time. If I could talk to someone that could do that in the form of an app, for example. Artificial intelligence and automation continue to transform the world, and what we've seen is that the market is now open to newer tools. Many years ago, you had to have been in business for a number of years to tick the box on credibility. Now that's no longer the case. Disruptors come to the forefront every day. And so the ability for you to be brave enough to take your idea to market has now opened up by the fact that the market is willing enough to see people differently. So I think it's really important that if we think about turning our ideas into impact, never again, or even not now, do you need to go it alone. So I wanted to say to you, maybe just quickly, how many of you are sitting around the table brainstorming your next big thing? Put your hand up. Any? I'm hoping you will be doing so soon in the spaces, because that's exhilarating. That's the exciting spot. 6 steps to shift it from thinking about it, visualizing it, to actually getting to it. Research, secure your intellectual property if you need to protect your idea, define what your identity is. So this talks about your authenticity, your company's logo, your vision, your mission. Write that business plan, find a space to work and collaborate in, and then secure capital. I want you to think big. Start local, but think big, because that's where it's scalable. Leverage technology, consider the human at the middle of that, or center. Be prepared to navigate setbacks. This is not easy. Find a network of women, of experts, etc., in the market you want to target that you can lean into and lean on. They will help you build resilience. They'll be part of your support base. And then foster collaboration. South Africa's tech ecosystem, developing markets across the board are brimming with potential. For fintech, for edtech, for agri-tech, across the board, there are new uses coming up every day and use cases being tested as people stretch the limits. So I think for me, it's about saying these platforms give you better support in the spaces. Oh, sorry. I'll be back.
Sorry, someone needs to mute. Is it Princess? Let me just mute.
Philip.
So just want to check, do you have any questions? More importantly, I know no one's got their cameras on. It would be lovely to see your smiles or your faces if you can. Does anyone have any comments or statements, or can anyone let me know where they are in their journey? Because we've heard stories of the small startups, we've heard about the unicorns, etc. Okay, I've got a question here. What skills a founder must possess before considering starting their own venture? The minimal requirements they can navigate the entrepreneurial journey with confidence. So I suppose it depends on what your venture is. So if we think about the skills you need, is what's the problem you're solving for? Is your problem going to be solved through technology? Do you have the skills required from a tech perspective? From a skill side, do you have a business plan? If not, do you have someone you can lean into for a business plan to help draft and develop it? Do you have a view from an account or a business or a finance perspective that can support you? But I don't know if there's a minimum set of skills per se. I've worked with an attitude and aptitude combination that I think is important in the spaces. And from an entrepreneurial side, we've actually got a number of forums that say, if you've got an idea, who do you take it to? So entrepreneurs by nature are risk takers to a large degree, but they're also when I say idea makers, they can translate it into execution. So maybe the question I have for you is, what is your new venture? Because remember I said to you, research first, what are you solving for? Have a business plan to be able to create that. There are some amazing online courses to learn to do this. The financials ones are about budgeting, accounting, etc. There are some really good banking programs that actually, if you open an account, the accounts in some institutions are linked to Xero. Xero is an accounting platform that actually builds your accounts for you. A view on marketing and sales. So who would you sell it to? How would you promote it? Okay. Your team, is it just you? Is it a team of you? So the leadership, the management. Do you have diverse skills? Is one of you good at selling? Is one of you good at creating the ideas? One of you good at accounting? What do you have? Go one example. There were 3 of them with very diverse set of skills. Communication, written and verbal. How do you talk to? Who do you talk to? Problem solving, because that's what you're doing. You're creating a venture that solves a problem. And then the industry that we're in, or the tech side, is about technical skills. And the last one is about that collaboration. So networking, we've spoken again about the ability to leverage what we're building here through ALX and Women in Tech. So those would almost be at a minimum, but very happy through this forum. If you've got a great venture and you've got an idea, happy to spend 30 minutes, an hour brainstorming with you all. How do you take it from idea to plan, from plan to people to help get there, and then what are the components around that technically you need to have in place? So when I say technically, that's the financial elements, funding, who do you ask, etc. Does that answer your question, Salibisile? I may be saying that wrong, sorry.
As we wait for Salsa Bill to respond.
Salsa Bill, sorry.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. We do have a live, someone would like to unmute Lucy. I'm just going to unmute you now and you can ask your question.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing session. So I understand that we were talking about turning ideas into impact. Currently, I am a law student. I'm finishing school in the next 3 weeks. I'm finishing my degree in the next 3 weeks. However, I would want to, stand out, because sometimes they say it is important that in whatever you do, get a niche. So I've also realized that I'd say tech is more like, gaining ground in Africa. And I'd say there'll be so many tech advancements in every aspect of life and all that. And that is why I'm actually taking a few courses here and there on tech, because I think I want to get into tech law, if that is a thing. And I feel like a lot of people are not doing it. So personally, I'd say my goal, or what I'm thinking towards, or rather my innovation, I don't know if it's an innovation really, but something I'd want to get into is technology with regards to the law and how it relates, and how these two aspects actually, like where they converge, if that is a thing. Do you think that is something that could actually,
Oh, can I? We're going to
be?
close in 58 seconds. Can I answer your question quickly? I
Oh,
want
yeah,
to
please.
introduce you to Narishka Bowen. She is a lawyer. So she's looked at the intersection between law, innovation, technology, and tomorrow. And she consults specifically, for example, on AI, on STEM, etc. So connect with me, and I'm very happy for you to connect you with her. So I think there are opportunities to speak to those that have started where you are, but have then taken the opportunity to take their expertise in emerging technologies, privacy law, and she's a legal innovator. You would love to talk to her. I'm very happy to introduce you.
Thank you, thank you. I'll follow up.
And then I think there are questions on founders and what they should learn to let go of. We're going to go back into the room. I'm very happy to share that with you. I think the thing with founders is we always say we tend to go back into our cave. So ask for help because your idea is great, but scaling it requires you to have support